So here we have the complete framework of the element tool. We have the 20 straight lines and the 3 circles that were added. So now it's time to start placing the element symbols, the numbers, and the action symbols on the tool, on the framework. So first, the framework was divided into 4 sections, or 4 quarters. And each one of those sections goes from corner to corner and extends to the center. Next, the 5 elements were placed on the framework. The element of fire, water, air, and earth being placed in the 4 quarters, and the element of life in the center. And after that, the numbers 1 through 9 were placed in each quarter, or each section, of the framework. Then each section received the coloring that corresponds to the color of the element represented in each section or quarter of the framework. So these numbers in each quarter correspond to the element of the same quarter. And the meaning of these numbers will be explained at a later time. So far, each section has 10 points. 9 points represented by the numbers, and 1 point represented by the element itself, for a total of 40 points. Next is the placement of the numbers 1 through 20 that correspond to the element of life in the center. The placement of the numbers corresponds to the first intersection of the 20 lines on the outside edge of the framework. This first intersection makes a perfect 20-point star. Starting at the number 1 and going from point to point in a clockwise rotation, it takes you through all 20 points and back to the first point. And according to this pattern were the numbers 1 through 20 placed. So there is an interesting pattern that emerges. The numbers that add up to 1 are grouped together, and the numbers that add up to 2 are grouped together, and the numbers that add up to 3 are grouped together, and the numbers that add up to 4 are grouped together, and the numbers that add up to 5 are grouped together, and the numbers that add up to 6 are grouped together, and the numbers that add up to 7 are grouped together, and the numbers that add up to 8 are grouped together, and the numbers that add up to 9 are grouped together. Now this is an interesting thing to observe, because the link numbers are all grouped together, and the primary numbers are all grouped together, and they rotate around the circle in a counterclockwise direction, and all of the link numbers are directly opposite of the 2 numbers that they link together. The 2 is opposite the 1 and the 3. The 4 is opposite the 3 and the 5. The 6 is opposite the 5 and the 7. And the 8 is opposite the 7 and the 9. This pattern continues with the 11, which is a 2, and the 13, which is a 4, and the 15, which is a 6, and the 17, which is an 8. So this 20-point star is a beautiful representation of the relationship between the primary numbers and the link numbers. And not only is it represented with the 20 numbers that relate to the element of life, but it's also represented in the numbers that are in each quarter that relate to the other 4 elements, and also relates to the link between each one of those quarters. So as you can see, the 0 from the middle extends to link the 4 quarters together, and within each arm of the 20-pointed star are all of the link numbers 0, 2, 4, 6, and 8. And between the 20 arms are the primary numbers, all linked together as one circle.